Good morning. I'm sure by now many of you have heard Kamala Harris's latest gaffe. Let me read it for you. When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, more of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water. Although it seems clear that she meant to say pollution, the fact that she said reduce population is a clear Freudian slip in the true meaning of the word. And this book has some things to say about that as well. Starting on page 140, the proposed high-tech dark ages illuminates how ultra-monopolies protected by the state and cooperative capitalism, cancel culture, social engineering and weakening of the population, and what I'm going to be talking about, reducing the population, reducing consumption, and atomizing humanity, are going to be the keys to subduing the population. Later in that section it says, long-term relationships and even marriage will be discouraged. Every effort will be made to break down each human being into an atomized individual with no group identity or ideology, and no way of understanding the world other than those deemed appropriate by the ruling elite. So it's possible that Kamala Harris really has those feelings towards humanity, that they must be atomized, they must be broken down, and that is clearly counter to Marxism. On page 130, this is a good explanation. Marxism has absolutely no interest in reducing consumption, imposing restraints on productive forces, or any form of degrowth. Those who led Marxist revolutions in the Soviet Union, in China, and Cuba, and elsewhere understood this, and they used centrally planned economies to raise living standards and industrialize their countries. It is only due to the conscious manipulation of Marxism by some of the richest and most powerful forces that any notion of small is beautiful or less is more has been introduced to Marxist thought. So what can we do to combat this right now? What can we do as Americans turn inward and away from each other as that process of atomization continues? What is the antidote? Well, let's turn to a quote we probably all know by Che Guevara. A great feeling of love guides the true revolutionary. And although that one might be tired for you, I've got a couple more quotes. Passion is needed for any great work, and for the revolution, passion and audacity are required in big doses. Audacity gives us a feeling of boldness. Audacity disregards the norms imposed on us by society, and it defies the social tepidity, the muddying of the waters. It defies the tepid view of the tepid explanation of things. It takes a bold stance. It's not timid. It doesn't shrink when there's social intimidation. Another quote from Che. Above all, always be capable of feeling deeply any injustice committed anywhere against anyone in the world. This is the most beautiful quality in a revolutionary. It's the dual force of the weakness of feeling and the boldness and audacity of passion. So you need both. I got another quote from Che. One must have a large dose of humanity, a large dose of a sense of justice and truth to avoid dogmatic extremism, cold scholasticism, or isolation from the masses. We must strive every day so that this love of living humanity is transformed into actual deeds, into acts that serve as examples as a moving force. So if love is the motivation, then bold defiance, then audacious action is the result. It's not actually a type of softness that makes someone weak. It's a softness that makes someone great. Tender to the plight of humanity. As humanity is brought lower by the crisis of capitalism, and it's ever more heaped on individual suffering, the expectation in society is to blame the individual choices and ignorance of your neighbor, to harden your heart. But I'm encouraging you today to stay tough and stay tender.